Hiya everyone, I'm Jamie, and today I want to do a Dead by Daylight discussion video because I think it's time that we talk about the nurse and admit that nurse is a problem in Dead by Daylight, and I think it's a problem that finally needs solving. Now, the nurse has been in the game for a while, and to be honest, I don't know how she survived in her current state as long as she has. Now, don't get me wrong, nurse is fun to play. She is fun to play. I've played it, she's fun to play. And she can be fun to verse. I think the problem with nurse lies in the balance, and that's like how you balance the game around a killer that doesn't play the video game that she's in. And that's the main problem with nurse. Like, she doesn't play Dead by Daylight. She plays her own game. She ignores every gameplay mechanic that it is possible to ignore while still being in Dead by Daylight. You know, it's a wonder she can't just pick up the generators and put it outside the map. You know, like, she doesn't play Dead by Daylight. She ignores windows, pallets, breakable walls, normal walls, floors, everything. She ignores everything. She can even blink out of the exit gates. She can blink into places that don't actually exist for everybody else. Like, it's insane. Like, how do you balance new maps, new gameplay mechanics, new perks, and everything like this around a killer that doesn't play the game? Yeah, I don't know how you do it. Like, for example, like the new change they've made, the 3-second DS stun. The 3-second DS stun. Like, for most killers, that's fine. That's okay. But for nurse, it's nothing. Like, you stun a nurse, and like one of the main things is that the 3-second stun doesn't start like when you can move. The 3-second stun starts from the second you hit the skill check. So you hit the skill check, you have the animation of falling on the floor, and then you can move. But from the second you hit the skill check, that's when the timer starts. Like, that's the stun. So for a bit of that, you can't even move. And then the nurse is on your ass in like 4.2 seconds. In like 1.5 seconds, she's on your ass. She's already downing you again. And like a 3-second stun is fine for most killers because, you know, a 3-second stun, even against Blight, you can probably make it somewhere in time. I know Blight's quick, but, you know, Blight isn't nurse quick, and, you know, you could use a wall. Freaking fly. You can use a wall or something like that. You know, you can't use a wall against nurse. And, you know, it's all like, and people say that this is fine, that all this is fine for nurse because she's hard to play. Like, she's hard to play. She's hard to, you know, just pick up and play. Therefore, it's fine that she's a bit OP, you know, because, you know, you have to put time into it. You have to, you know, do all this to, you know, be able to play it. But the problem is, she's not that hard to play. Like, she's not actually that hard to play. Like, you pick up nurse, you stick on plaid flannel, you have the thing to show you where your blink's gonna go, and then you have to learn one thing to play nurse semi-effectively. And that's to... You alright, Kirby? Sorry, my dog distracted me. And... trying to make a video with ADHD. Like, once you learn the one thing, to blink where you last saw the survivor. Don't try and blink where you think they're going. Blink to where you last saw them. So say they're running towards Shack, they turn the corner, they've gone round Shack. Blink to the corner where you last saw them, and then use your extra blink to correct, to follow them wherever they're going. And eventually you'll get them, because nurse blinks so quickly. A survivor cannot get away in time. So, you know, once you've learnt that, and then once you use plaid flannel to get the muscle memory of where your blink's gonna go, that's it. You can play nurse at a reasonably respectable level. Obviously, you're not going to be a god nurse, but you can play nurse at a respectable level. She's not that hard to grasp, if that makes sense. And then it's just putting time into her. Just, you can play her at a respectable level now, so you just have to put time into her, and, you know, easy game, because she doesn't play Dead by Daylight. Yeah, that's what it mainly comes down to. She doesn't play Dead by Daylight. And I just think that this is a hindrance to development in general. So, like, you know, you're the devs, you have a new perk idea. Sounds really good until you start to think about nurse. And then you're like, oh shit, nurse could exploit that. Oh well, back to the drawing board. And you come up with a new survivor perk or something like that. And you think, oh well, it'll... Alright, Kirby. Like, that'll do nothing against Nurse, so pointless. And then, you know, it's just a hindrance to development. You have a new map idea. You have to work Nurse around it. You know, she plays an entirely different game, and she must be a nightmare to try and intertwine with DBD, because, you know, how can that make development any easier, you know, when you're trying to think up new ideas for a game, but you have to work around a character that it shouldn't be in the game at all, you know. But yeah, and people say that if Nurse was nerfed or reworked or something like that, like, high MMR killers would have nothing to combat high MMR survivors, because, you know, Nurse is so much stronger than all the other than all the other killers, and she's very useful to have at high MMR. And I would counter that with, if Nurse was reworked, then you wouldn't have to balance the game around her anymore. You could buff killers as a whole without worrying about how it would affect Nurse. I worry to a certain extent that even the new changes they've made might make Nurse, might buff Nurse a bit too much. Like, ideally they should be okay, because they're primarily, you know, based around kicking pallets and, you know, weapon cooldown animations, which, you know, Nurse doesn't kick pallets, and she has a different weapon cooldown animation to everyone else because she has her blink fatigue, which, you know, is fine. So that could be okay, but, you know, it's still a bit worrying, and it shouldn't be. Like, you shouldn't have to worry about this kind of stuff. And then, yeah, so without Nurse, you could raise all the other killers up. My dog's breaking into my living room. God damn it. God damn him. He's a bit antsy because it's a bit hot. It's understandable. I'm boiling right now. I have to have my fan off because it messes with my microphone. Yeah, that's not part of the video. But, yeah, you could raise all the other killers up. So, you could, you know, bring all the killers up without having to worry about Nurse breaking the game. And plus, like, it may be, you know, a little bit biased, as I am kind of partial to Huntress, but I feel like with Nurse reworked, you could make maps more favourable to ranged killers without having to put 50,000 line of sight blockers, because Nurse needs them to play Dead by Daylight. So you know when they bring out a new map and there's like 500 line of sight blockers, and you try and get cool shots with Huntress, but you can't because there's literally nowhere to shoot because they've put a lot of line of sight blockers in there because Nurse. I don't know if it's because of Nurse, but you know, you could make a map with fewer line of sight blockers and Nurse wouldn't be able to exploit it. Like, think about New Haddonfield. Like, that middle of the street is great for like snipes and shit, but it also makes Nurse ridiculous. Like, Nurse on New Haddonfield is dirty. So, you know, you could get rid of that. You wouldn't have that problem anymore. The problem is, I'm not entirely sure how you would rework Nurse. Like, I'm not a game dev. I have heard suggestions that you could have her earn her power, like Oni. You know, like he has to get his blood to activate his Blood Fury mode where he's strongest, and you could have something like that for Nurse. Only problem is then I worry about her becoming very slug heavy. Like, she's already kind of sluggy as it is. And I worry that if you only give her a power for a certain amount of time, you know, Nurses will compensate for that by slugging heavily. And then you just have another Twins Oni problem where, you know, they only have the power for a limited time, so they slug like shit. You know, that's a problem. I've also seen it suggested that you could make it so she can't blink through solid objects. She could only blink through open spaces. You know, like that add-on that she had. I don't know if that's still in the game or not. I think it used to be her 3-blink add-on, but I'm not sure. And then adjust her base speed to compensate. Well, that could work. I'd need to, you know, you'd need to test it extensively to make sure if she was even, you know, still viable at that point. Her power is just so weird. It's so weird. You know, she was the 4th killer. She was the first ever DLC killer, and I don't know. I think she hasn't aged with the game. She hasn't changed. She was plopped into the game where she didn't really belong, and she hasn't changed since. You know, she's got a little bit weaker, but she hasn't fundamentally changed. She still doesn't play the video game she's in, and I think that's really weird. Like, it reminds me of that Mario power that you had in one of the games. I can't remember which one it was, but it was a side-scrolling game, and this power allowed you to fly. So you could skip over the whole level, just fly over the top and ignore everything below. And that kind of reminds me of what Nurse does in Dead by Daylight. She ignores everything and just flies to the finish line. And yeah, I think it's time to do something about that. She needs something to bring her more in line with Dead by Daylight and not play her own game. And yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. So if you want to put your thoughts in the comments, I don't know if you completely disagree and think Nurse is fine, you know, or if you have an idea of how you'd rework her, or, you know, just thoughts, start a discussion. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Hope you all join my streams at 4 PM BST every single weekday, playing Dead by Daylight, you know, the game the Nurse doesn't play. And hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and hope to see you tomorrow in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.